Thanks everyone for joining me this afternoon for our webinar on the library and its services and resources. AU has a library, of course, which some people aren't aware of, so that's why we called it that, because it's a surprise for some people. And again, this is part one of a two-part series. This part is about navigating the website and where to find the search tools. We'll get into using the search tools a bit later on in our second session. Okay, so just so you know who I am, I'm Jennifer Rempel. I'm the Information Literacy and Resource Access Librarian here at AU Library. And there's my email just in case. I'll give you the library's contact information as well if you have generic questions about the services, questions about things you need. Oh, and I see, okay, letting people into the session. Okay, so this is what we'll discuss today. We will go over a bit of library terminology just so we have a baseline of knowledge where we're coming from. We'll look at, again, the library website, and we will just briefly discuss databases, the library catalog, and then getting help. So these are kind of the basics of the library. Okay, so we're going to start with a bit of terminology. So we're going to talk about catalogs, databases, and journal articles. So I'm going to just send a link here to a Jamboard in chat. Just to get your ideas, again, I want to say no right or wrong answers. There kind of are right or wrong answers, but no pressure. So if you can follow the Jamboard on the link there, just to get a sense of where you're at with library knowledge. So we have the library catalog and the library databases. These are probably terms you've heard before. So if you'd like to just do a little sticky note, I think I'll share my screen for this. So I'll go to screen share. And we can look at the Jamboard. Oops, there we go. Oh, I lost my page. So we'll go to the Jamboard. So can everybody see my screen? So we're in the Jamboard right now. So what you can do is make a little sticky note here. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, sticky notes, just grab that and you can pick a color and you can just select what can you find in the library database, or sorry, in the catalog. This one's the catalog. So yeah, and no pressure. We'll just take a couple of minutes, maybe 30 seconds, just to kind of get some ideas going and familiar with the Jamboard. Okay, we're getting more people, yay. Oh, looks like we're drawing on the screen. No worries at all. If you want to erase things, you can press Control Z, Control Z. It will reverse anything you've done, but no worries. We're just having fun, putting up our sticky notes. So yeah, just getting a baseline. What can you find in a library catalog? Okay, so we got some good ideas going on. Only a vague idea. That's okay. Yeah, whatever you want to put up there. Okay, I think we'll give it another 20 seconds. So no worries if you don't feel like going onto the Jamboard. We have a second page as well, which we'll get to. So no worries if you're not sure. Because again, you're here to learn. So it's all good. Oh, getting a lot more people. Good, good. Okay, so yeah, okay, so we have a couple answers, books and DVDs, both good answers because those are, yes, things you can find in a catalog. So the next question is to distinguish a bit between that and the databases. So if we go to page 2, you can see up the top here it says next frame, little arrow. For people who've just joined the session, we're just doing a little background information about what you know about what's in a catalog versus a database. So if you look in the chat for this session, you should see a link to our Jamboard. No, and again, no worries. This is just a little quick activity. But, oh, sorry, yes. So slide 2. Okay, we've got some answers going already. Perfect. So slide 2 for the Jamboard, what can you find in the databases? And again, if you don't know, it's no problem. We're here to learn, right? So I see we're getting more people. That's great. Okay, so what can you find in the databases? Journal articles, great answer. Periodicals, yep, excellent. Okay, we'll maybe give it another 30 seconds or so. Nice little activity to get your minds going. Full text. That's an interesting one. We'll get to that a little bit. Full text articles as opposed to just the links. That's a good one. Periodicals, journal articles. All right. So if we go back, okay, research papers, excellent. Yeah, good answers here. So just to flip back, if you look, what we're seeing, just on my screen, I'll show you. So we have, vague idea, that's fine. Books, DVDs, journal articles, not so much, not so much in the database, in the catalogs, not so much, that's okay, because that's what you're going to find in databases. So the catalog is essentially where you can find print books, ebooks, videos, CDs, yes, DVDs. Physical material typically are in the catalog, but you will find many e-books as well. So mostly physical materials. AU Library, for example, which if I go back to my slides, which I will do, sorry, I was going to pull it up again. It always takes a little bit of time to transition here. But yes, catalogs generally are for physical materials. So your books, your DVDs. AU Library, we have science kits and models, that kind of stuff. So any course materials you need that are physical and don't come in your course package, that's what you'll find there. And we have over 150,000 books in print as well, which you can actually order from the library and we send them to you in the mail. But we do have 300,000 ebooks. So again, online delivery is kind of the priority. So you find those there. And can everybody see my slides again, just to confirm? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So catalog, books, videos, other media. So sometimes you'll have a psychology kit that you need, like an assessment kit that we can mail to you, science models, like we have geology kits, things like that. The main focus, though, will be on the databases because, as some of you pointed out and noted in the Jamboard, that's where you're going to find your articles. So scholarly materials. You can, yes, find book chapters sometimes. Somebody mentioned periodicals. So that's essentially how it works. So databases are where you find what are called periodicals. So these are items that are published on a periodical basis. So you want to think of a journal or a newspaper. You can occasionally find book chapters, even though they're not quite periodicals. And you can find book reviews, newspapers, and book review aggregators, things like that. So I hope that's a little bit clear. And again, session 2, we'll go into that with much more detail and many more examples as well. So again, and when we get into the question of articles, there's some more terminology there, which we'll go into more depth with the terminology in session 2 next week. But essentially, an article, as you're probably aware, is an original study written by an expert, usually expert in their discipline. Articles are then, of course, published in journals. So a journal is a collection of published articles that are about a specific topic, usually peer-reviewed. And a journal is going to be highly specific to a genre or to a area of study. So, the Journal of the American Medical Association or, things like that, Shakespeare Quarterly. It's very specific topics within which are published articles by experts. And then, of course, you have the articles that are published within journals, and then journals are accessed through databases through the library. So you have a database like JSTOR, which contains a lot of historical or literary journals like Shakespeare Quarterly or things like that. Journal of the Canadian Historical Association, I believe, is in JSTOR. So that's where you're going to see the journals. So databases are all individual as well, and they're provided by different vendors, and we do subscribe to a lot of different databases. So this is really good for you to be aware of because as you're doing your research, of course, you're going to be asked to look for scholarly materials in our databases. And sometimes some instructors specify use the library. And of course, the AU Library, we subscribe to over 200 databases, individual databases that contain individual journals, and we have about 107,000 journal subscriptions. So we have quite a bit in the library, quite a bit. So what we'll do now is, this is the part where we've finished our terminology, so we're going to go on to the library homepage section and just kind of explore how the homepage works. We do have a new one, so I'm just going to stop sharing, share my screen. Okay, so I hope everyone can see to our Jamboard. So at this point, chat is a little bit difficult for me to see because I'm focusing on my screen. So if you have questions, we'll leave a bit of time at the end for those. So feel free to save those for the end, and we can get to them then. So, okay, so I hope a lot of you are familiar with the AU Library homepage. You can see the address here. There's a link to it from the AU page as well. So AU Library Scholarly Resources. The first thing you're going to see and probably use is the search box in the middle of the screen here. So next session, we'll get into much more detail about Discover. So Discover is an aggregated search. It's called a federated search. So what it does is it searches many, but not all, little caveat there, of our journal article databases. So when you search in Discover, what you're searching is, it's sort of like, it's a tool that tries to be like Google. So essentially you do a search. So here, example, we'll do social media and misinformation. You can do your keyword searches here and find what we have. And what Discover searches is both the library catalog as well as many of our databases. It's going to search them all at once. Important thing to note about Discover, though, which we'll talk about next week more, is that it isn't actually a full text database, because somebody pointed out also in Jamboard that the databases have full text. That's generally true, yes. So as you can see here, what Discover searches, it searches metadata. So it pulls in citation information about articles, about books, about book chapters, about conference presentations, and it pulls it all together and it searches it. So it's pulling in information from publishers and from the web. And what it does, if we do have full text, it will provide a link, or we have another software that provides a link to the full text. So in this case, full text ScienceDirect, you click through to the database and find the article. And again, not going to go into detail here, that's for next week, but just so you know what Discover looks like when you do a search. So I've done a keyword search. You can see here on the side, you can limit to your scholarly and or peer-reviewed journals. You can limit to material from the catalog, and you can limit by date. And of course, you can see all kinds of material in Discover, from videos, like web videos, all kinds of stuff. Again, more detail next week. We do have a Discover guide, which I'll point out if you want to get ahead of that and start looking at that too. So basically, again, Discover is searching library catalog as well as many, but not all, of our databases at the same time. So it's very, very useful. Scholarly article search is the exact same tool, but it has a limiter pre-selected. So you can see here, when you do our search, the scholarly peer-reviewed journal limiter. So if I want to get rid of all material that is not scholarly or peer-reviewed and or peer-reviewed, that's a bit of a tricky thing we'll talk about later, you can click on that. So this search is basically the exact same thing, but it has that limiter pre-selected. So you'll see fewer results that are more relevant. So you see we have 200,000. If we cut out library catalog and other things, you can see now 48,000. So yeah, again, not always full text, but we'll cover that next week for sure. Okay, so just aware of what these two tools are. I will show you the catalog first. This is a bit confusing. Unfortunately, it's called additional resources. It's a bit unclear. Click on the tab though. You can see it is actually our library catalog. So again, databases, which I'll show you where those are in a second. Databases in the catalog are totally separate tools, although Discover is an overlayer that searches both. So if you want to just search the catalog, you only want to find ebooks, very good to do if you're researching a historical topic or something, right? Sometimes books are just the best thing to look at. So in this case, we can do a keyword, title, author, all these kind of things. So if you just do a keyword search, I'll use my, oh, I was going to use this, copy paste, there we go. That won't work. We'll do my keyword search for books. And oftentimes, to be honest, when you're searching the catalog, what you're going to want to do is you're probably going to have an item in mind already. There's probably a book you're already looking for. You can do a title search. But in this case, you can see with my keywords, we do have some books on this topic. So here we have an ebook. And when you look at the catalog, you can see the ebook links here. So you can follow the links through. You can go to what is called the full record. And again, we'll go into this in more detail next week. So this is the record to the book, and there's the link through to the ebook. So there are ways to find books in the catalog. You will notice that this looks quite a bit different. So we have kind of our old school logo up here. So when you log into your account, it looks different, but this is still the library website. It just looks old, but you can click on this to take you back to the homepage. So yeah, very, very brief exploration of what those tools are. Journal title search, again, this will be much more, we'll explore this more next week, but this is where you can see a list of all of the journals the library subscribes to. So for example, I want to look at the Advances in Nursing Science journal. This is the name of a journal in which an article was published. If I search this, I can see which databases this journal is available in. So for example, if I want to find an article from this journal, I can see, okay, we have coverage from 1978 to 2003. And you can click through and this will take you into the database where that journal is located. Again, I won't go into detail here, but just for awareness and for navigational purposes, what each of these things are. Okay, so that's the main search box here, kind of what you're going to be looking at for the most part. Again, you can find, you do your Discover searches, your article searches, again, your catalog searches for books and ebooks, and then journal titles. A bit more complicated, but if you're looking for a known item from a citation and you have the title of the journal in which an article was published, you can do a search here and find that. So useful to be aware of. Again, next week, I hope everyone signs up and attends next week as well, because we will get into more detail about this. It's a bit vague for now. I maybe, I hope not. But if we want to go back now to the top, navigation, this is also pretty useful because there's a lot of material here that I think kind of gets missed sometimes. So, the Discover search is useful and very prominent. Oh, I think we have somebody in the session. Oh, I don't know. I think it's okay. Okay, but sorry. You can see if you actually want to search within a specific database, you can find these under Find Resources. So again, Discover is not searching one database, it's searching a whole bunch of databases and our catalog. If you want to go to a specific one, because oftentimes you will be asked to by instructors, you can go here. So if you go to Find Resources, you want to just click on this little house, this little home link, and this is true of all the other tabs here. So in this case, what you will find is individual databases. So like I mentioned, we subscribe to about 200 of them. Some of them are free, open access online. Many of them are subscription only. So that means the library pays for access to that database. So a couple of ways to find databases that you need. Sometimes you want to look for data and statistics. Sometimes maybe you're looking for ebook collections, or because again, ebooks are tricky too because we have them in our database, but we also have them in our collections. Or sorry, we have them, in our we have ebooks in our catalog, but also in our databases. So yeah, you can see there's trouble with that jargon sometimes. Okay, so anyway, many different collections you can look at. What I tend to find is you will use them by subject area more so. So if I want to find all the databases that are related to education or English literature or whatever, history, indigenous studies, look, we have all kinds of rankings or groupings of our databases. In general, though, you would have a good sense of the kind of database you want to look into. So for example, many students in psychology will want to look at PsycInfo. So if I want to find a specific database, I put it in the search box and go, and you'll see, there we go. So you look a little bit, PsycInfo. So this is a specific database. So this is, if you go into it, I can show you. It looks a lot like Discover, but it's a specific database that aggregates or collects psychology-related journals. So you're going to find articles that are specifically related to psychology. And one thing to talk about or discuss a little bit more next week too is Discover is a very useful search tool, but it doesn't have a lot of the filters that some of the individual specific ones have. So for example, PsycInfo, you often are going to be looking for primary sources, for example, primary material research. So you can actually go down into the advanced search and limit much more specifically. So for example, Discover doesn't offer tools like searching by population group or methodology. This is really useful too. Methodology, I want to look for empirical studies. So again, there are reasons to look in specific databases because they often cover specific topics and can be easier to search than Discover. Discover is very useful, but you get a lot of material. Another one, for example, is JSTOR. This is really great if you are a history student or if you study literature. Oh, and I got a little message here, so I want to see if everyone's been admitted into the session. Yeah. So JSTOR, for example, also very useful, very helpful. So again, specific databases are under Find Resources. And you'll see here digital collections as well. So what the digital collections are, people usually have less call to use them, don't always use a digital reading room, things like that, but we have digital thesis and project room for previous student theses. We have D-Theses, which is the updated version, digital collections, and AU Space, institutional repository. We just kind of random material that's generated by AU faculty and students. Digital reading room you probably will use. This is where, so if you're in a Moodle course and you have a course reading and you click on the link, it will take you to the digital reading room through your Moodle course. So that's all set up for you within Moodle or within Brightspace, depending on which service you're using. But if you want to just check your course readings, So for example, I want to see, okay, Education 302, I'm in this course, what are the readings? So this site basically just shows you all the readings that have been gathered in one spot. So again, usually they will be linked to through your Moodle course, your online course, but if not, you can always check the digital reading room. One thing to be aware of, if you're not registered in the course, you won't have access. So if you're not registered in Education 302, you can't see this page. I can because I'm a librarian and I have admin access, but if you have to be registered in the course to see that material. But just so you know it's there. Again, find resources. This is where you're going to find the specific databases if you're asked to search in them. And again, you might want to do that for search tool reasons, which we'll talk about next week. So if we go back to the home page, we'll just cover a few more things. I think we have a couple more minutes. I want to leave 3 or 4 minutes at the end for questions, and I can hang around a little bit afterwards if you have time, if you have more detailed things. So how to use the library. This is pretty useful. Again, what I would suggest with these top tabs here, a lot of links. The easiest thing to do is click on the house to see the full page, because the way the new website is designed is to have these little boxes that link you to more pages and more resources. So in this case, library website orientation, that could be useful. Check that out. It's a new guide. It's a guide to the new website, and it's a little mini course. So you can go through and complete the steps of the mini course, supplement to this webinar, because this webinar, we go through it a little bit quickly. Borrowing resources. So again, how to borrow material from the library itself, how to order books, because as I said, if you find a print book in our catalog, we can mail it to you. So essentially what you do is you request it in the catalog, we send you the book in the mail, and then we send you a return postage shipping label as well. Other possibilities for borrowing, if you live in Alberta, there's the Alberta Libraries card and there's the COPL card. So the COPL card allows you to request and borrow material from other academic libraries. One thing I want to be clear with the COPL card, very useful because you can go to a library in person and borrow material from them. So if you're in Edmonton, you can go to U of A. I believe you can go to different, if you're in Toronto, U of T, I think signs up for it. So a bunch of different universities across Canada will allow you to borrow from them with a COPL card. Do be aware, this does not include digital access. So if you get a COPL card, you cannot use it to log in to U of T online and see their databases, right? So if you go there in person, you can look at their collections, but it's only for on-site use. So the COPL card is very useful. Again, if you're within Alberta, the TAL card can be very helpful because it's the same thing. It's for public libraries. Okay, so that's kind of the basics there. Interlibrary loans is also useful. Bit of a misnomer here. So interlibrary loans is for books. So if you're a faculty member or tutor, you can borrow books through interlibrary loan. Students, through interlibrary loan, you can request anything that can be scanned and printed. So next week, we're going to talk about accessing full text. We don't have everything, right? So we have a lot of things. I'm going to show you the library. I'm going to show you Google Scholar. I'm going to show you a few tricks for tracking down full text wherever possible. Sometimes you hit a wall and we just don't have something you need. In that case, if you go to the ILL site, which is again under how to use the library, borrowing, what ILL does is you can fill in a little form for any article, book chapter, or conference proceeding. So things that are printable. You can fill in the form, request it, and we email you the article to your inbox. So we get it from another library and then email it to you. So it's not really a loan because you can keep the article and download it, but it's good to know. Good to know about. Okay, so borrowing resources, search tools. This is kind of useful, but we have better guides, to be honest. And then copyright. Probably don't need to look at this too much, but information is there about that too. So how to use the library. This is sort of navigating and borrowing things, essentially. Library support. Also, extremely useful tab, and I hope you kind of bookmark this, especially the guides, tutorials, and webinars. This is extremely useful because this, again, in the website is kind of hidden up here, but if you click on the little house, you can see here, we designed our guides to go through the stages of the research process. So planning your research, accessing library services like getting help, guides, tutorials, and webinars for specific things, evaluating and citing information. So we have guides to MLA, APA, RightCite that are helpful. Requesting research help, because we do have reference librarians who will, if you have specific issues with finding material or with your research question, we can help you with that. And then technical problems. We're an online university. We're an online library for the most part. We do run into problems here and there with all the different vendors, so there's just some tips for fixing technical issues you might have. But just here, I want to show in particular, because you can go through these guides at your own pace, but here, guides, tutorials, and webinars, this little link here, it's also the same as this box, but extremely useful because, again, the idea is it flows through the research process, offering you help at every step. So in this case, planning your research. There's a little guide here about how to get started, like just the very, very basics. If you're a brand new student, it can be really intimidating to get started on things. So this guide will walk you through the entire process. This one, FGS, there's some guides that are more or less useful. May look at, may not, but the guide to the research process is very helpful. And as you scroll, you can see finding and accessing materials, and all kinds of guides here. So we try to make guides for basically every aspect of the process. And so I'm just going to double check that nobody is in the waiting room. Okay, so back to my screen. It's hard when there's only one person and you have one screen. So, okay. So there's a tutorial for the catalog specifically that you can look at. There's a guide to searching in different databases. Again, we've just got a guide to Discover specifically, which we'll talk about, because again, next week is going to be quite significantly about Discover and about databases, but this is really useful because we have videos. And again, all of this is a real whirlwind tour here, but tons of material that's just here that are tons of guides that you can look at on your own time. FAQs on ebooks, Google Scholar, very useful tool, and you can set up links to the library in Google Scholar. We'll talk about that next week. Very useful for full text. All of that information is in here too. Again, interlibrary loans, internet searching, ebook finding, Boolean searches, tips for searching. This is also going to be covered next week at our session at the same time. And then ProQuest. So ProQuest, which I didn't really even get into because there's so much to talk about, but ProQuest is a really excellent collection of databases that we subscribe to that Discover will not link to because ProQuest and EBSCO basically are rival corporations and don't want to share their information. But ProQuest is really a great resource. And actually, I'll show you that here because if you want to find ProQuest, you go to Find Resources, and then you type in ProQuest, and you can find our ProQuest collections. So again, I just wanted to show you, though, that, because again, ProQuest is excellent and sometimes gets overlooked. Okay, so again, get library support, guides, tutorials, and webinars, where you want to go for a lot of help. And so as we continue to scroll down, you can scroll down or jump. So again, evaluating sources. So how do you evaluate internet sources, right? So we have internet searching, web information, peer review research guide. A lot of you need, not need, but have questions about peer review, and this is a really thorough explanation of that. Wikipedia, how to use that appropriately in the academic context, depending on your instructor. Writing and citing, again, academic integrity, extremely important. Very useful little guide for you here as well. Citation style, again, you're going to have to use APA or MLA or Chicago. This has all kinds of information as well as links to other sources on the web. Okay, and then citation management tools, which you may want to use, again, open access. So a lot of different topics, trying to be as thorough as possible, writing resources, guides to the right site, that kind of thing. And we're getting close to time, and I want to give it a little bit more time at the end. So anyway, we do have subject-based guides as well, extremely useful. I'm not sure what programs you are in, but again, anthropology and archaeology, pretty popular. English 255, many students take. That's a very useful guide. Helps you with some of your assignments there. We get a lot of questions about. Nursing, really useful. Nursing and Health Studies Guide for the general nursing student, as well as nurse practitioner resources. So again, you can follow through and see what is in this guide. So all kinds of material available that is there to describe how things work. Psychology, all kinds of stuff. And of course, we do like our special topics. So we have one on the library website. Search Like a Pro, I'll also talk about a bit more next week. Also very useful. It's a little mini course that one of our colleagues made that really goes in depth about searching. So next week we'll talk about that in detail and you can ask your questions, but this is a really good mini course. So just more material, educational, business, anti-racism, all kinds of stuff. So we try to be supportive and reflect different aspects of the student experience as well. And also we have material on literature reviews. Many of you will have to do those. And accessibility. And then finally at the very end, webinars. We can't unfortunately load our webinars onto our website anymore, but the best way to find out about them is to look on our Facebook page. We're still on Twitter for the time being, despite the challenges there, but we do have an account on Facebook and Twitter, which we recommend you follow those because that's a really good way to keep up on our webinars and what we're doing. And of course our YouTube channel, which I will just click over into. because this is where you're going to find this video, probably posted in the next couple days. And again, more useful ones. So we have like our videos here. You can see all of them. A lot of these are available within our guides specifically, but you want to take a look, subscribe, that always helps us. You can take a look about different topics on the site. And finally, just to get back to the page, we've covered the basics. Again, guides, tutorials, and webinars. Good idea to bookmark that, and I'll actually paste that in chat in a second. And also, just the final thing too, we have frequently asked, oh, whoops, missed it. Frequently asked questions. Kind of useful, just the basics, like course extensions, accessibility, librarian appointments, all kinds of stuff. So we have FAQs there as well. And then finally, about AU Library, you can see our contact page and our staff list, which may be useful. Once you graduate, we have some alumni services, limited access to databases, but you can find more information here. And of course, our contact page, also extremely useful. So mailing address, maybe less so, but you can call us, you can email us, library@athabascau.ca with any questions you might have, and that is our main desk, and we will from there forward your question to the appropriate librarian or staff member. And we have some question forms too, so you can ask a general one. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can use the forum, you can use the email. Either way, it comes to the same place, and they get filtered to the appropriate person. So purchases, suggestion for purchases, technical issues, all kinds of stuff. So forms and email and phone are the best way to get a hold of us. We also have chat, although I will say we are understaffed currently. So chat normally is available from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, not on Wednesdays for the summer. The summer hours will be reduced because people go on vacation, they go to conferences. We're low staffed already. So chat is available and a great way to get a hold of us too. And what you'll find when chat is active, it'll just pop out. So you'll have a pop-out to remind you. And then finally, your My Library account. Pretty basic. You can log into your account from there. Click on this. I want to just show you though, because this confuses many students because I've logged in. This is my account, but I see now it looks like a whole new website. Like, oh no, where am I? How do I get back to the homepage? What is this? If you see this, don't worry. It's just old school. We've got to update it still. It's just an older system. But to get back to the library website, there's a couple ways. You can go to homepage or just click on this icon. That's also a link back to the website. But here, I don't have any books borrowed right now, but if I did, this is where you would see, books I've borrowed, and you can renew stuff here. If you need help with anything though, honestly, any questions you have, anytime you get confused, call us, send us an email. Like, we are here to help you as much as possible. Again, we do operate on business hours within Alberta, so that's 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But you can email us, call us anytime, and we can help you out.